Yesterday we started chapter 6 about percentages. Okay, we learned the percent proportion yesterday, and it's up here on the board. I will leave it up there. Today we're going to be talking about the percent of change, how much something changes compared to its original amount. Okay, so percent of change, I'm going to call it POC for short. Percent of change, everyone write this down, equals the amount of change, how much it changes, over the original amount. So the percent of change is the amount that it changes from the start to the end, and then divided by the original amount where it started. Okay? And then we're going to talk about whether it's increasing or decreasing. Okay? Does everyone have that written down? Okay, I have it on the board also if you don't. So let's look at a couple examples. It says we want to find the percent of change from 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So what are some keywords in there? How do we know where she started, or where it started and where it ended? From and to. Good. So from 84 to 60. Now, looking at our percent of change formula, what do we want to find? We want to find the amount of change. How do we find the amount of change?
Look at the word. Dividing by?
Not dividing, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. From 60 to 84. Is that better?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Not multiply. How do we find the difference of something? What's the subtract? Okay. We're always just take the bigger number minus the smaller number. The amount of change is always going to be positive. Okay. So you want to take the bigger number minus the smaller number. What do we get when we subtract those? 24. Okay. So we found the amount of change. Do we know what the original amount is?
Yeah.
What was the original? 60 was the original. This is our amount of change. So can we find the percent of change?
Yeah.
So percent of change equals the amount of change. What was the change? 24. What was the original? 60. Now we need to divide those. 24 divided by 60. And you get 0.4. Now, we're looking for percent of change. Is that written as a percent? No. How do we write it as a percent?
0.4%. 440.
What can we multiply it by to get a percentage? 100. Why'd you say 100?
Because that's the percent proportion. Yeah.
That's the percent proportion, right? That's how much the whole percent is out of. So we need to multiply by 100. So you're going to get 40%. Now that last question, it says, is the percent of change an increase or a decrease? How are we going to figure that out? We're going from 60 to 84. Are we going higher or are we getting lower? Higher, so what does that go with? Increase. So there's two parts to your answers for percent of change. The percentage, and then whether it's an increase or a decrease. Let's try another one together. Find the percent of change from 20 students to 24 students. So from and to, go from 20 to 24. Did I write it right that time? From 20 to 24. What's the first step? What do we have to find looking at our equation up here? We have to find the amount of change. How do we find the amount of change? Yep, 24 minus 20, which is 4. Do we have everything that we want out of this ratio?
No. Yeah.
What's the amount of change? Oh, I just erased it, sorry. 4, what's the original amount?
20.
So we have it all, right? So POC equals 4 over 20. You always want the original amount on the bottom. You got 0.2? Can I leave it like that? No, you want it as a percentage, so we got to multiply it by the whole percentage. So you get 20% Is that my final answer?
No.
We have to put increase.
We have to put increase or decrease. We're going from 20 to 24. That's in increase. Any questions over the setup and the idea of it? Okay, go ahead and try those last two. And then check with the elbow partner when you're done. Let me ask you something. Is the original amount always going to be the bigger number?
Yes.
No, so don't just automatically put the bigger number on the bottom, okay? It always has to be the starting spot that it was, okay? Looking at these, what's different from these compared to what we had?
They have had and had.
Right, they don't have from and to. They have had and has. So what was our original? Yep, so it was from 318 to 273. What's our first step with these? What do we want to find? We want to find the change, right? So we do 318 minus 273. What do you get? 45. Once we find that, what do we want to do? Use the formula, right? Percent of change is the amount of change, which we just found was 45, divided by the original. Do we just assume it's 318 because it's the bigger number? No, it has to be the original. So from 318, 318 is our original. When you divide those, what do you get? 0.14. And then that's not as a percentage. How do we turn it into a percentage?
14%.
Multiply by 100, right? So we get 14%. What do we not want to forget to say? Yep, we want to know if the change was an increase or a decrease. What was this one? Decrease. Because we're going from 318 to 273. Last one. Pedro had 325 trading cards. He now has 270. We want to find the percent of change. What do we do?
325 to 270.
Yep, 325. We're finding the difference. What do you get when you subtract those? 55. That's our change. So now we want to find the percent of change. 55 was the amount over, what do we put on the bottom? Which is the original amount, right? We want the original on the bottom. What do you get when you divide those?
16 or 17. Round up.
0.17. Okay, last step. Multiply by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So you get 17% decrease. Good. So the biggest thing to be careful with is what number you put on the bottom. It always needs to be the original number, the one that you started with. Any questions over percent of change? All right.